It's time to create a profitable, scalable, and sustainable studio for yourself and your students. Welcome to Dance Studio Empire. I'm Jen, dance studio owner for 30 years, running multiple locations with over 1,000 students, dance business coach turned mastermind mentor for dance studio owners, creatives, and leaders like you. I know you're committed to growing your studio and creating the time and financial freedom you most want, while also being the best in the industry with a reputation to match. I've coached hundreds of studio owners who have grown to 250, 500, and over 1,000 students using my signature studio scaled method. And in this podcast, I'll give you the clarity, strategy, and CEO mindset to help you do the same. Let's dive in. Well, hey Dance Fam, and welcome back to another episode of the Dance Studio Empire podcast. If this is your first time joining us, I just want to reach out and say welcome, and I hope you enjoy this episode, and if so, go back and listen to other episodes and stick with us. Still, my goal is with every episode is to deliver information, ideas that will challenge your thinking, will spark you to try something new, to add to your studio. And I want you to do it straight away. I don't want it to be something that takes a while. I want you to be able to leave and implement just to see those changes, because that's ultimately how we grow. And I'm about to step into a season of speaking about scaling your studio. For those who don't know, I'm currently in the second year of running a mastermind, which I run for high achieving studio owners, and it's called Dance Studio Scaled. And so I'm going to be going into more detail about that. First of all, though, before we get started, I do want to say I hope you celebrated International Dance Day. It was earlier this week. I don't know how you do that, whether you do that with your students or whether you have friends in the industry that you get to share that day with. It is just a really good reminder to reflect on the journeys that we all go through and to be part of this amazing industry. I think sometimes we do get caught up in the politics of it, or trying to focus on the business side. But when we stop and think, why is it we actually got into it? It does come back to that passion that you most probably had growing up, and then wanting to share that with others. I know for the majority of studio owners I speak with, and for myself, that honestly, that's where it started from. It was that passion of sharing dance, sharing the art, and passing it down to the younger generation. And it's days like International Dance Day where we can sit back and remember that. So I hope you celebrated in some way, even if it's just giving yourself a pat on the back, because you're here, you're doing well, and as I said, I am grateful that you are joining me today. Okay, so without further ado, let's get on to today's episode, which is I'm going to be talking about the difference between scale and growth, because they're different. So when, in simpler terms, the growth of your studio, which we are seeing a lot of in the industry at the moment, how to grow your studio, how to grow your studio numbers, how to grow your bank account, very important. And there are definitely seasons where we're in growth. But growth is about getting bigger or adding more. So adding more to your workload, to your business, it's about growth. Where scaling is about using what you have, then optimizing it and streamlining it. About being more strategic, so being about refinement, profitability, and sustainability, and not just about adding more all the time. So one of the goals that I have for studio owners is to simplify. I honestly believe we are in a shift at the moment in our industry, and we're going from being so consumed and overwhelmed with information, which is definitely at our fingertips, but it's anywhere now. So I'm sure you're seeing it pop up in your social media. You're probably getting emails from different people. Let me help you grow, be part of our team to grow. This is me too, so I'm not bagging anybody out. But I just believe we're in a shift, and a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people I feel are in a place where they've almost consumed too much, that they now just don't want to take on any more information. Because I don't know about you, but definitely for me, the consumption side of things can be quite overwhelming. It can be quite stressful. And then we're always looking for the next thing because there's all these offers that are coming out, but we're forgetting to actually get in and do the work and do the actions or following through. And so and which leads, it's beautiful for what I do, because scale is really about not adding more. It's about using what you have to then grow within yourself. So without adding more, but become more profitable, and then have that sustainability to run your business profitably and simply without causing that stress and overwhelm. Now, there is a place for growth. And when you're in your season of growth, this is when you do need to implement those quick wins, or you need to take fast action, which is certainly important. However, over time, if you're continually trying to do this, you're continually trying to find the next quick fix, the next win, this is where the doors open to feeling overwhelmed or stressed. And that feeling, I don't know if this resonates with you, but that feeling of just continually trying to catch your breath because you are just reacting all the time. There's no time to sit and work in the business and be proactive because you're just continually reacting and just trying to survive. We've all been through it. So if you are there at the moment, please don't feel alone. There is a way out, but we all have been there, so we know what it's like. But what this does, that's that continual feeling of stress and overwhelm, that can then turn to resentment, or that feeling of being disheartened, or, essentially wanting to burn it all down. And so these are the things like the quick ways to get more students and the quick ways to increase your income, and employing teachers fast who aren't right for your studio. It's just, we just need to take a breath, and we just need to sit in how we want to grow our business. Like, where do you want your studio to be? Because if you plan to have this career for a long time, you'll find it really hard to maintain this whole idea of quick growth over a long period of time. And so what's the answer? You just need to find strategies that are simple and sustainable, and just not constantly sucking your time or sucking the life out of you. So, as usual, my goal for this episode is for you to walk away with some practical tips or something that you can implement straight away to get the process started. And so what I thought I would do is just run through a few things, a few questions that come through about scaling versus growing that I have, and I will offer it to you, and hopefully you can use it somewhere to get the process started, just to switch that mindset of going from growth to scale. Okay, so the first question that I get asked is, when is it the right time to scale? Okay, now this is, in my opinion, from all the studio owners that I've worked with, which is in the hundreds, it's about, I say, between 100 and 200 student mark. Now, you need to have a base to work from before you can scale. So you need evidence, you need feedback that you can work with. And I realize that 100 to 200 is a big range, but I've worked with studio owners, particularly one I can think of, and she had just under 100 students, but because she'd been going for a while, we had evidence about what was working and what wasn't working. And so we were able to completely change her business model, and she's earned in the first quarter of this year, has earned more than she did in total of all of last year. And that was simply because we used the evidence that she had, because she had been teaching for quite a few years, had her studio for quite a few years. We used that evidence, we could see what worked. That's when we honed in on that, and then we made that the priority. And so now she's doing this, she's working less hours, but earning a lot more money. So that's why I say it can be done at 100. Obviously, the more students you have or the longer you've been going, the better it is to get started. But that's just to give you an indication that it can work from about that point. The next thing is maybe your classes are currently full or nearing capacity, or you have a wait list. That's another good time to realize that it's time to scale. But then on the flip side of that, maybe you notice that you have some classes that are struggling to fill while others are going well. This is also a really good indication that you've got enough evidence to start to scale. Okay, the next one would be if you're receiving positive feedback, you've got high student retention, and you've got strong relationships indicating a loyal customer base. This is also a really good indication. And then my final point, is it time to scale, is that if you're at a point where you physically have no more time in your day to get things done. So especially time for you to focus on building the business because you're spending your time. So you might still be teaching, you might be doing admin, but you're also putting out spot fires, or you're trying to solve problems, like problems with short-term fixes, because you haven't got time in your schedule to have a long-term fix. So I don't know if any of those points sound like you, if any of it resonates, but that is definitely, if any of those points do, then it's a good time to have a look to see whether it is time for you to look at scaling. Okay, and then the next question that I get is then where do I start? Now, I'm going to answer this. I know that you're already busy, right? So a lot of people find it hard to fathom how they can grow, expand, or scale without needing more time from yourself. And that, of course, is 100% true. Being honest with you and transparent, like I always promise to be, it does take hard work to set it up, and it will take time, but you need to start the process somewhere. So the idea when I'm working with studio owners is this is the process that we go through to get yourself there without causing yourself, more stress, more energy, or burning out. So the very first thing that I will get studio owners to do, and that would be to do a task and time audit. I actually have a template of this. If you would like a copy, send me a DM on Instagram, which is _JenDalton_. I will send you the template. And basically this is where you sit down and you write or type, depending how you like to take notes, every single task that you do, where you do it. So whether it's home office, studio, maybe out at a cafe, then what time of the day you're doing it, and then how long it's actually taking you. And so ideally you want to do this, in a perfect world, I want you to do this over a 12-month period, because then you've run a whole dance year cycle. So it lists out everything. So it's a good way. However, most people don't want to wait a year. And I suggest not waiting a year, but you start doing this. So you start by every day just tracking this, and then that can then become 1 week into a month, and then you can keep doing it as the year goes. But what this is going to do is going to highlight where you are spending your time. It's going to highlight things that you can delegate that you don't need to do. It's going to highlight things you can erase, so things you don't need to do, things that you can automate, and then things that you can systemize. And so on this template, if you do grab a copy from me, I've got little boxes where you can start to check these tasks off. And so this is where I suggest starting. I also suggest with studio owners who I work with who are starting to feel, they'll say to me, I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, I'm so busy again. I get them to sit down and do this again, because it just refines the process that what they're doing, where they're spending their time, it can be tweaked and it can be fixed, or you need to hire someone to do it, or we need to delegate it out to another staff member, but it just comes back to awareness, and this document will help you do it. And on a side note, you can also use this document to give to your staff. It's as a way to help them keep them accountable, to make sure that they are staying on track as well. Anyway, as I said, if you want to copy, DM me at on Instagram _JenDalton _. All right, so that is the first step, your time and task audit, because this is then going to give you more time in your week. Next one is now we start looking into the refinement piece. So it's now time to have a critical look at every aspect of your studio's operation and then identify areas where we can improve it. So I like to break this down over 4 areas. So the first one being systems, the second one being your team, the third one being the student experience, and the fourth one being your financials and your numbers. So with systems, having a look at all the things, so including onboarding, I include marketing in this, having a look at your lead conversion retention data, having a look at your payment systems, your automation. So having a look at just the systems that you're using in your studio, how then can you improve each of these to make it more simplified? So again, going back to making it more simple and clear and repeatable, so that if it's not you doing it, it's someone else doing it, or it's an app doing it, or some sort of system. That's the first place you want to be looking. The next thing is having a look at your team. Now, is it that you need more on your team to help you with some work? Or is it that you need less? Or maybe you just need a more all-rounded employee. So that's something that I think is really important, is when we're hiring, and I know we're all struggling with hiring at the moment. Well, not all of us, many of us are struggling with hiring. And I think, again, we need to shift the way we look at hiring again, because it's different. And if you're hiring someone more for their skills and ability, they may be able to do more for you. So instead of hiring 3 people to do 6 jobs, just hiring 2 people to do 3 each. So just making smarter choices, I guess it comes to. But another thing with your team, you just need to make sure that they're in alignment with your values, because having a team member who isn't can really disrupt the energy of your studio, of the business, for everyone involved. So it's going through and having a look at that type of dynamic as well, and then what you can actually do with that. And it may just mean having to not offer them any more classes if it's not working. So that's another big area, but a very important area. So the next thing you want to look at refining is the student experience. So are your classes being delivered in a way that you're promising in your marketing? Are you achieving desired goals? If you've got teachers teaching in your classroom, are they speaking to the children the way you want them to be spoken to? Are they getting the results that you are wanting from them? This process, having a look again at the retention part. Are they retaining? Are they converting? If kids are coming for a first lesson or for a trial lesson, are they signing up and are they staying? When you start to have a look at this process, this is where you can then identify and hone in on areas that need to be focused on. And again, how can we do it in a way that is going to serve you as the studio owner, to not make more work for you, but just make it work better for you? And then finally is your financials and your numbers. We need to get intimate with our numbers, guys. Particularly your income, but more importantly, your out, so your expenses. Now, I have said it before, but the way you start to increase your income is by first reducing your expenses. And I know for a lot of people, finances and numbers can be a little bit confronting, but we can only fix this once we acknowledge it. Also, under your finances and your numbers, though, you want to be looking at other revenue streams that you're offering. You want to look at your pricing structure, and you also want to have a look at the different offers that you have available in your studio. And so we start to look at those things, and then it's like, okay, this is working, this isn't. Let's have a look at what is working. Now, how can we make this work better and more efficiently for you to earn more money from it, but without increasing your workload? So that's the second one. And so once you've been through each of these areas, it then becomes clearer where you then need to focus your time and energy to simplify. And simplifying usually is taking away too. And then we start to streamline for that sustainability over the long period of time. And then, which leads us into the next part, which is then sustainability. So this is the next thing that you start to look at once you are in this scaling process. So the first thing I want to say is scaling isn't a one-time sprint, it is a marathon. And it's just essential to ensure that our growth strategies are sustainable for the long run, right? So again, this is just looking at different ways that you can optimize resources that you already have and improve the efficiency of them. And this could involve automating administrative tasks. It could be the way you set up your payment systems. It could be consolidating class schedules. Like I mentioned before, I'm just a really big fan of employing staff who can be given a range of tasks or teach a variety of styles. So for most studio owners, their biggest expense is their teachers, the payroll. So how can you optimize your staff so that it's beneficial for you? So by creating sort of that lean and efficient operation, you're not only reducing costs, but you're also going to lay that solid foundation for the long-term success. Like I did say earlier, being completely transparent and honest, you do need to know that there are just some things that you're going to have to do if you choose to go down this path. The first thing is it is going to take work to get set up. It's like life in general, anyone who is successful knows that there is that period where you have to get in and set those solid foundations. For most of you who have been going for a while, there's not a lot of big changes, it's more small changes. But again, you have to take action, you have to actually do the work. It's not going to happen if we're just hoping and praying. You do have to get in and do it. I find if I just sort of commit in my mind, it's like, okay, this is going to take 6 months to achieve, and then break it down into the months. I find it's easier to consume that way. But just knowing that it does take action and it is going to be a bit of work to set up. But I promise you, once you get to a stage where it's set, you really can take the foot off the accelerator yourself, as in operationally wise, and you can then just run, and as your business hums and hopefully is making money, then you can place yourself wherever you want in your business. That's the beauty of it. Another thing that I'd love you to be aware of is there could be financial investments involved in the setup process. However, if we go back to that task and time audit, if you have a look at where we're wasting time, the tasks that we're doing, we could almost be saving money because we're having a look at when you're going through that process, you're also having a look at your financials. There will be things that you'll be able to start saving on straight away. And so although there might be financial investments, there should also be instant savings as well. So hopefully it's not too much, but there is that commitment where you may have to sometimes change a program or, employ someone who you weren't expecting to employ. But when it's done in a very strategic way, it all works out in the wash. The next thing I would say is to trust or be guided by someone who has done it. So whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether you become part of a group, you really want the support and guidance from someone who has walked the steps, they've made the mistakes. So ultimately it's just going to save you time and money. That's the process. And because this process is quite individual, because where we all are, our goals are different, our starting points are different. We're all doing different things. So it's not a cookie cutter solution to do this. So you want to find someone who has done it and who can guide you in the best way. And finally, it's going to take time, but you are setting up for that long-term sustainability and profitability. So it is absolutely worth it. If you feel you've been running your studio for a while, you are ready to take that next step, I would absolutely consider looking at doing this scaling versus growing so you can truly just live out that passion. So, in conclusion, scaling without working more is really about working smarter and not harder. So, refining the processes, maximizing the profitability to ensure that long-term sustainability. And then you can then create a thriving studio that supports your passion, your creativity, and of course, the lifestyle that you choose. So that's it. That's the difference between scale and growth. If you have any questions about this, I'm absolutely open to talking more. Mentioned at the beginning, I'm feeling a real shift in the way we are running our businesses. It excites me because this is where my passion absolutely lies. And yeah, really, really keen to talk a lot more about it moving into the future. Take from this what you can, start to implement. Remember, if you want that time and task audit template, just send me that message on Instagram _JenDalton_, and I will send that to you. We can also have a conversation in my DMs as well. All right, everyone, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I'll be in your ears very soon.